Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over Drag Race Sweden Season 1 and asking ourselves, how would I judge this season? Not gonna lie, I did not really watch the season when it was airing. I did watch the first episode after it aired, and then I did not watch any of them. But the other day I watched all of the rest of the episodes, so yeah, I form my opinions, I have feelings. Let's go over them. Alrighty, the rules to remember, as always, are the season has to be as long as the season originally was, which is 8 episodes, 7 competitive episodes, and the finale. And the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they were in the bottom, and vice versa, unless there's strong fan support for it. The goal is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal taste and what was shown to us on the show. I do feel like I need to stress that last point here because there were some comments on my video about season 15 that were, let's just say, not happy about a couple decisions I made. And I just want to stress that, like, everybody has their own personal biases. Just because somebody thinks someone did slightly better in a challenge over somebody else doesn't mean that they're like trash garbage. You know what I mean? Like, we all have little biases that we're all going to disagree with, and I think if if we all, everybody ever like combined, like, was like make your track record for the season of everybody that had watched it, there would be 100 different track records that exist, and all of them, well, most of them are are valid, I feel like. And also, ultimately, my opinions do not matter. If the only thing you take away from this video is that I'm a stupid idiot and you never want to watch another video of mine again, that is an entirely fair take, and you should be able to have that take. Alrighty, so starting with episode 1, we have ourselves the kind of like hometown ball challenge. It's not really a ball, because like a ball on Drag Race pretty much always has 3 looks attached to it. But it's the same challenge that they do on every single season of Drag Race UK, where each of the contestants had to do a hometown look, and then a look based on a separate category. For this challenge, it was, I believe, like Night at the Palace was kind of the vibe of it. So let's get into the placements. I kept all the top placements the same. I completely agreed with I'm a Queen winning. The blue and white look that they did was so amazing. It is like, I mean, it's my favorite look of the season for sure. I don't feel like I'm being egregious or anything when I say that. I think it's a really fucking good look. And Admira and Santana also did an amazing job in the challenge, so I completely agree with all of them being in the top. Um, Now, for safe contestants, Fontana and Electra were safe originally. They're still safe now. But I decided to move Indigo up to safe. Indigo was originally in the bottom 2, and I completely disagree with that. I feel like Almighty Aphrodite and Antonina Nutshell solidly did a worse job than Indigo. I do think there's an argument for Indigo being in the low placement still, but I decided to put Indigo as safe because while Indigo's runway walk isn't stellar, I don't feel like that is like enough of a downfall to like put her in the bottom 2, or low in this case. I really enjoyed the different concepts and like the style that Indigo goes with her looks and the way that she applied them to the categories. And I frankly have a little bit more complaint with Vanity Vane's looks than I do Indigo's. Basically, well, really the only complaint actually I have with Vanity's, like the only solid complaint, is that her kind of like, I honestly don't even know what category it was, which is kind of also like a downfall to looks that I honestly can't remember which one was for which category. But her kind of like, she had this kind of like green gray jumpsuit that didn't fit entirely right for one of her looks, and her looks overall were leaned slightly on the more basic side of things, in comparison to all the other looks presented on the runway. So I did decide to put Vanity Vane in the low placement, but the bottom 2 are going to be Almighty Aphrodite and Antonina Nutshell. Originally, Antonina was low, but as I stated earlier, I do think she should have been in the bottom 2. I do think Antonina and Almighty's looks both had similar issues. is that they were slightly lacking with the details and with the fit. Each of them had a bit of issue in both of those categories in different ways. So I think it is entirely fair to put them in the bottom two. And they are going to lip sync to Puss and Cram by Daniela Ratana. I hope I said the name right. And I think there is merit to saying either of them could win this lip sync. We saw on the season that Antonina is not a bad lip syncer at all. And in the actual lip sync that Almighty Aphrodite did, it also wasn't that bad. I think Indigo did better, and Indigo, like in the actual lip sync against Indigo, I do think Indigo did a better job. But Almighty didn't do terrible, and I feel like just in my gut that Almighty Aphrodite has a better chance of winning here. I think I just feel it. I feel the vibe of it. Honestly, spoilers for, episode 2, but regardless, whichever one of them stayed here, the other one was going to end up going episode 2 anyway. So ultimately, it doesn't matter that much. But my gut feeling is that Almighty would do better. And I gotta stress, because Antonina got too much flack this season for, issues that were out of her control, being that she, kept getting saved when she, kept placing in the bottom, which, it's not her fault. She isn't the one that she's in the producer, she's in the judge. She doesn't choose to keep, being saved in the competition. But I just really get the vibe. And again, I don't think Antonina would do a bad job on this lip sync, but I just have more faith in Almighty. So Almighty Aphrodite is going to stay, and Antonina is going to sashay away in episode 1 here. And I do think, sadly, for Antonina, I feel like her being eliminated here in episodes 1 or 2 definitely relieves a lot of the problems with the placements throughout the season and kind of the pacing of it. So we'll see how that develops over the rest of this video. And I do want to clarify that originally, Electra, for winning the mini challenge this episode, was granted immunity. But we're not going to be doing that because I don't like that. I don't think that makes sense. They only did it once in the actual season, and it ultimately didn't matter because I feel like, Electra did a safe job in this challenge, so she plays safe, and that's really it. So I don't understand throwing this. I don't understand throwing an immunity on episode 1 and never touching on it again. If it was a consistent throughout the whole of the season, then I might have considered it. But in this scenario, we're not. So yeah, I think we've covered everything here. So yeah, let's move on to episode 2. Okay, in episode 2, we have ourselves the talent show. Now, originally, Almighty Aphrodite did not participate in this challenge. And sadly, I don't think that she would do particularly well in it. It was mentioned on the show that the lip sync performance that Almighty participated in episode 1 was the third performance that she had ever done, if I'm remembering correctly. So, that being a fact that we know, and also, like, that being coupled with, having to make a talent show performance and be able to share that on the stage well. I just don't have much faith in Almighty Aphrodite to do well in this challenge. Now, looking at the top contestants for a minute, originally Electra won the challenge, and Santana and I'm a Queen were safe. Or, sorry, not safe, they were high. I don't know why I said safe. But in this scenario, I did decide to move I'm a Queen down to safe. And move Fontana up from safe into the win position. The reason I decided to move Fontana up from safe into the win position is because I feel like Fontana really played this episode perfectly. I mean, Fontana wins the mini challenge to be able to choose the order. She puts herself first, and she does a killer job in the performance. Doing the samba routine with a fucking split and all these good dance moves. It was genuinely my favorite performance. And since it was first, I was just waiting for all the other acts to kind of usurp it from me, and none of them personally did. So Fontana's going to win this for me. And then looking at, Electra, Santana, and Ima, of who to move down to the safe placement, then I do think Ima did the worst out of the three for me. I'm a Queen and Electra both had similar performances, which were they were original songs that were comedy based. But I thought Electra's concept was a lot better and was funnier. And I'm a Queen's really it basically just had one line that repeated itself over and over. It was a good line, but it wasn't, it was literally just like one line. Now, looking at our bottom contestants, I basically kept it the same except for instead of Antonina Nutshell being in the bottom two with Vanity Vane, Almighty Aphrodite is there instead. So, Vanity Vane and Almighty Aphrodite are going to be lip syncing to, I'm very sorry for pronunciation on this one specifically, Jasbacillin by Siv Malmkvist. I think I got the name mostly correct, but I probably fucked it up still. And Vanity Vane did a pretty good job in this lip sync originally. And I think Almighty would probably do an okay job, but I think Vanity would do better. So Vanity Vane is going to stay here, and Almighty Aphrodite is going to leave. And we're going to move on to episode 3. Episode 3, we have ourselves another design challenge where they have to make outfits out of like recycled materials and stuff. Now, a lot of international seasons of Drag Race do this. Usually they start out with this, but what they will end up doing is they will have like a contestant in the win position, somebody who's high, and then a low, and then a bottom two. Instead of doing the kind of like standard like top 3, bottom 3, and then everybody else is kind of in the middle. They did that in this episode where there's only like one high placement. Same with the episode after this originally, because they were both episodes with 7 contestants in them. This time, however, we're going to be having this episode where there's 2 highs instead. Originally for this episode, Vanity Vane won the challenge and I'm a Queen was high. I decided to switch that up because I thought Santana Sex Machine did an amazing job in this challenge. I will admit my bias here of I love Santana's style. I love a darker, grungier style of drag. It's what I gravitate towards just personally as a human. But honestly, this look wasn't like that. It wasn't that much in the Santana kind of vibe of things from what we saw in the season. It was still, it felt like Santana Sex Machine, but it wasn't the most Santana look out there that she had produced. But I thought it was a very clean look. It had pants, which was fun to me. And truly, it was the only outfit that I had no issues with. As simple as that, honestly. I was like, yeah, it's a solid outfit. There's nothing I can really critique about it. So, for me, Santana won the challenge. Our original, win and high contestant, I'm a Queen and Vanity Vane, they're still going to be in the top because they did a great job in this challenge. Since Santana's been moved from a safe place into the win, and, we're having the top 3, bottom 3 situation, Myra Thunderpussy is going to be just safe, still as she was originally. And the bottom 3 are exactly the same. When this episode came out, I did remember seeing online some, like, critique of Fontana should not have been in the bottom, Fontana should have been in the top. Which, like, I don't think Fontana did that bad of a job. Like, I liked the concept, I liked the colors, I liked the message, I liked that. I genuinely liked that. But there was an issue that her outfit and the other bottom 2 contestants' outfits all had, was that there were some issues with the fit and with how it sat on her body that are just kind of hard to deny. Like, looking at the contestant above her, who I put Admira did not have that issue. Admira's outfit was kind of basic, but like, just like the, kind of wishing there was more as a critique, and actively saying, this outfit doesn't entirely fit correctly as a critique. One of those is worse than the other, and that's the outfit not fitting correctly. That's just the way that I feel about it. But yeah, the bottom 3 is exactly the same. Elektra and Indigo are going to be lip syncing to Sexual Revolution by Army of Lovers. And as originally, Elektra won the lip sync, did a very good job with it. Indigo did not do a bad job either. But we're still going to have the same scenario where Elektra's going to stay and Indigo is going to leave. Now, here is where our season really deviates from the plan. Originally, in this episode, the 3 eliminated contestants up to this point got to participate in the reading challenge where the winner would be able to re-enter the competition. I don't know why the fuck they did this. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. I don't understand. It really only stunted the momentum of the season for me. So we're not doing it. It doesn't make sense to do this for me. But we are going to be having a little bit of another kind of situation in this episode, as you can see. So this episode was the Snatch Game episode of the season. Um, Everybody who's here participated in the Snatch Game originally, so we don't have to worry about that. But originally in Myra Thunderpussy won and Electra was high, I decided to switch those placements. I thought Electra's was just funnier. Obviously, there is some, context that I'm missing, because I'm not Swedish. But I just genuinely watching it, I was like, oh, Electra's killing it. It's great. I thought Admira did a good job as well, but like, yeah, Electra's jokes were funnier to me. She kind of played the, like, kind of like, I guess, I don't want to say, the word that's coming to mind is bimbo, but it feels, I don't know if that's the right word. Kind of like vapid. Vapid is a good word. This kind of like vapid woman. I really think she did a great job with it. Um, Now, the rest of the placements are kind of shaky to me, because like they all did not. Oh, they all did like an job in the Snatch Game, in my opinion. I do think I'm a Queen was solidly like in the bottom. That like I'm a Queen, I think out of these six was the worst for sure. But the other three placements, my mind kind of like turned upon a lot of like not 100% being sure about with these placements. Vanity Vane did place low originally. So since Antonina's not here, I did think it was kind of fitting to just, slot Vanity down to a low placement or to a bottom two placement here. Vanity Vane did have that one good moment where she said "woo" like twice in a row, and I genuinely laughed. I was like, because it was just so dumb. It was funny. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. So I did like that moment, but that was really the only moment that Vanity had. So I decided to move her down to the bottom two, and originally Fontana and Santana both placed safe. With the way I do final sixes of there being one of each placement, I just kind of decided to put Fontana's as play performances higher just because I thought it was funnier. Not, I mean, it's not really. Honestly, this could change depending on the minute who here places safe and who places low. But I did like the constant like like of the Britney Spears. I thought those were funny whenever she did them. And she really had a good attempt. She really tried. Santana had some okay moments within there that were funny, but it almost felt like her almost like her aunt. Almost like she was like like Fontana came in with like prepared things almost that felt funnier, while Santana felt less of that to me. You know what I mean? I just felt it more with Fontana, like, oh, she's making choices in this challenge and she's trying to like execute them. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I put them in these placements. But frankly, who places safe and low here could change, in an hour. So yeah. Um, the bottom two of Vanity Vane and I'm a Queen are gonna lip sync to Kitty Girl by RuPaul. I don't know why I said it like that. I said like Kitty Girl. And originally Antonina won this lip sync when she was in it, but honestly, this might be my hottest take, even though it actually doesn't matter because it's not happening in this scenario. I thought I'm a Queen won the lip sync. When people were like, when I saw like the track records online and people being like, oh well, I'm a Queen did lose the lip sync, I just believed them. But then when I watched it, I was like, Ima Queen's doing like a fine job. I don't understand. I thought Ima Queen could have very reasonably stayed after that lip sync. But I think in this scenario, Vanity Vane would do a better job than Ima Queen. And in this scenario, Vanity Vane, this is her second bottom two of the season, does not have a win here. So Vanity Vane, does have the worst track record up to this point. Going against I'm a Queen, who just very slightly has a worse track record than the front runner up to this point, which is Santana. So we kind of have this situation where it's like a Darian like Ben de la Creme situation here that we're going to be having a bottom two, and they're both going to be saved. Vanity Vane doing a better job in the lip sync, but I'm a Queen still doing okay. And considering that she's the front runner of the season, it feels like she'd be going too soon. So I think in this scenario, it is pretty damn fair to keep them both here. We've had this kind of save before with Ben de la Creme here, and also with like Candy Muse, kind of in a similar but opposite way of the the reasoning was I want to see more. You know what I mean? So I think this is kind of the fairest way to kind of make the situation happen to kind of have another episode because we do have to have a non-elimination or some form of episode like that throughout the season. Um, because there's 7 competitive episodes, there are 9 contestants. If you eliminate someone each episode, that gives you 2 in the finale, which feels weird. So you gotta do something like this. And also, I feel like it would be more narratively satisfying for I'm a Queen, and we'll end up seeing Santana's stories here because originally it felt like they were both just cut too early. They were cut before their time. But in this scenario where we have them both here placing in the bottom in this challenge, and we'll continue to see how this develops into the next episodes, it will feel like, it will feel like they've run their gamut as contestants in the season. I feel. At least I hope you all feel that way. So, yeah, let's move on to episode 5. Episode 5, we have ourselves the Eurovision Girl Groups Challenge. Now, originally, Antonina Nutshell was here. Instead, we have I'm a Queen. Um, because Fontana won the mini challenge and still gets the power to choose her, partners for the challenge, and she chooses Electra and Vanity, nothing changes in that sense. We just have Emma Queen taking Antonina Nutshell's place. In this scenario, we're keeping the same winner as we had originally. Admira Thunderpussy is going to win. Admira did a really solid job in the performance, and while not really being like the most not being like the most visible member of her group, that being Santana, um, her performance was very solid, and she, even without being the most prominent figure, still gave off leader vibes. And also, there is one point in that performance where they kind of do this move where they kind of like roll their arms up and, these like different, like, like one at a time and like do this like little thing. I can't even really describe it. But watching it originally, um, Santana and Antonina go at like the same time, and Admira goes slightly later. And looking at that initially, I was like, "Oh, Admira did that move wrong." And then I rewinded and watched it again and was paying attention to like the pacing of it, with the moves beforehand and like the song, and I was like, "Oh wait, I'm 95% sure Admira was the only one who did it right." So I do think there are issues that we saw Santana have, which I'm a Queen, may or may not have had, or could have had in this challenge. That really make, in my mind, and Myra have done the best in her group, and have also having the best runway of the week, I should say. Like 5 reveals, are you fucking kidding me? Of similar dresses, but with slightly different styling and like one's a bodysuit. It was great. I loved it. And Myra deserved this win this week so solidly for me. Originally, Vanity Vane placed high and Electra placed safe. I just decided to switch them because I preferred Electra's performance. She felt like she was serving her character more to me, and like she kind of felt like it just felt like she was doing the best in her group. I was watching and I was like, oh, Electra's having this for me. Electra's my favorite here. So that's why Electra's high and Vanity safe, but they both did a great job. Neither of them made like any mistakes. Um, Looking at the bottom 3 here, I did decide to put Santana Sex Machine as low, um, mainly because looking at I'm a Queen and looking at her performance abilities, like obviously, as I said last episode, she didn't do a bad job in the lip sync at all. But looking at all the contestants above her and looking at this format of this kind of like poppy girl groupness, I just don't see I'm a Queen doing a spectacular job in this challenge. I just really don't see it. And even like with her talent show earlier in the season, she did place high for it, but honestly, I thought it was like just fine. And so I feel like I can very easily see a scenario where Santana, despite like kind of making a mistake and her runway not being 100%, is kind of the main character of her group and kind of acts it out perfectly. And, everybody else above her, kind of does a better job. And in her group, she's kind of like, the quieter, like more to the side one. I really see that kind of being the scenario. And then Fontana, I think sadly deserved to be bottom two here as well. Her energy just didn't 100% fit with her team. It kind of felt like she was trying to be like the Beyonce of her group, but it ended up coming off as too much and it just not entirely fitting with the vibe that, the rest of her team had. So I do think for, kind of the reasons of Fontana being a bit too much and I'm a Queen, I would assume being just not enough, they're going to be the bottom two here. And they are going to lip sync to Euphoria by Loreen, which fucking love this song. It's so good. I've loved it for years. It's really amazing. I love me some good Eurovision songs, I gotta say. Um, but in this scenario, I do think Fontana would win this lip sync against I'm a Queen. Fontana did a great job originally. And again, I'm a Queen I did a fine job in her first lip sync, but I don't think she would do a good enough job to beat Fontana in this one. And I think in this scenario where we have I'm a Queen being in the bottom two the episode after like her first bottom two and being eliminated here, I do think we have a better storyline with Ima, where we, kind of have this like competitor who shines early on, who kind of dips and then is, eliminated, in a more fair and natural way against somebody who, also has a challenge win at this point. Yeah, and I think is pretty much just as like a challenge win and some safe placements. Like it feels more fair. It feels like, yeah, she this was the correct choice. It doesn't feel like she's been robbed. It kind of feels like we kind of get this more kind of like downfall story that we've seen in seasons like season 2 of Drag Race with Morgan McMichaels, and both seasons 1 and 2 of Espana, where the contestant who actually kind of it's like the exact same, where the contestant who wins the challenge episode 1 leaves episode 5. And they're kind of pegged as an early front runner, but they kind of stutter and then fall. And I feel like it's a more it's kind of a better way to kind of like show the story and have it still be fair and it still keep the pace of the season where we haven't just like lost our front runner to somebody who just re-entered the competition. We're losing somebody who's been in the bottom two for the second time in a row, and every 4 out of the 5 contestants left like have a win at this point. It makes more sense to me. It makes more sense. It feels better. So yeah, let's move on to episode 6. Episode 6 is the Makeover Challenge. Now, originally, Santana Sex Machine did not compete in this challenge. You can find what her makeover look was going to be online. And just to give a quick description of it, I guess, it was kind of like a like black and yellow bodysuits with like rubber ducky accessories, very much giving like rubber duck almost caught in an oil spill. It's kind of like the vibe of it, and it was kind of like it was kind of like precise. It was like a precise dark bodysuit is kind of the vibe it was giving. So I think if Santana came in with that look and was able to successfully recreate it and do the makeup well, which I both of her other design challenges placements in this season, or in the original scenario, were a high and a safe placement. For me, were a high and a win. I do think most likely that Santana would either be high or safe for this challenge. I don't think she'd be in the bottom. There were solid issues I feel like with Elektra and Vanity's costumes that make me think that they would have been in the bottom in this scenario. Originally, I believe Vanity placed high for this episode, which I did not get at all. I thought there were detail issues and fit issues and just overall vibe issues with the outfits. I thought the exact critiques that Elektra had could have easily been applied to Vanity's looks for me, and I do not understand why Vanity was placed high in this challenge. So it's just the way I feel about it. Fontana's still gonna win because the Shining reference was very fun. Her partner looked just like her, but it was also a different concept where it doesn't feel specifically Fontana. Like a reference to The Shining doesn't feel like Fontana, but she did it so well that you're like, absolutely, this is Fontana. It was great. And originally, Admira Thunderpussy placed low in this challenge. I just kept her safe because that's how I do Final Fives. I do a win, a high, a safe, and then a bottom two. That's just the way I go about it. It feels consistent to me. It feels, even on both ends. I like it. But yeah, and Myra is just gonna play safe because she did the third best. I feel like, or she would have done the third best. I feel like in the scenario, and I don't think she did a bad job in the original scenario either. Like her partner looked good, and the outfits looked good. I really don't have much of a complaint. I really don't. Except I guess you could complain about them, like, Admire kind of painting her and her partner like a bit older than they are. But if like that's a character choice, then you can't. Then it really can't be critiqued like that. And also, the paint still looked good, so I don't really understand the issues. That's how I feel about it. Electra and Vanity Vane are the bottom two. They're going to be lip syncing to "Emergency" by Icona Pop. And I said Electra would win. We did get to see Electra's performance in this, and I thought it was pretty damn good performance. And I do think Vanity could have done better. I absolutely think that could be the case. In the lip sync that they did against each other during the season to Kisses of Fire, which we'll get to what that will end up being in the next episode. Um, Vanity Vane did win it. So I do absolutely see the scenario, but Elektra was fucking kills it with the comedy. Elektra has a better track record up to this point. Having a win and this being her second bottom two, where Vanity does not have a win. This is her third bottom two. I just think it makes more sense to keep Elektra here than it does to keep Vanity Vane. So we're going to be moving on to the final four in episode 7. We're going to see what happens there. Episode 7, we have ourselves our acting challenge of the season. Here we have Santana instead of Vanity. In this role, Santana would play. We're just going to be assuming that Santana's going to take Vanity's role, which was kind of this, like, I don't know, like, kind of like stereotypical, like ditzy blonde woman situation. Um, I think Santana would probably do fine. I don't think she would. I don't think she would win with the role. I don't think she would do worse than Elektra. I think she would be bottom two. I really don't know. I think she would, again, like, I think she would do fine, but I just don't see her doing better, realistically, than Admira and Fontana did. Admira did the character well, really sold it, did the lines good, and Fontana kind of being like this. I would say she was the lead. They all, most of them had similar screen time, but Fontana kind of being the lead of it. I do think she did a solid job with it as well, and I just assumed that there would be more mistakes and more pitfalls with Santana's performance. So Santana and Elektra are going to be the bottom two this episode. They're going to be lip syncing to "Kisses of Fire" by ABBA, which, holy shit, we finally have an ABBA lip sync on Drag Race. Yes, we did have, "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme" on season 14, the finale, but it was the Cher cover. So, it kind of counts, but it doesn't really count in my opinion. But yeah, we're actually having, a song being sung by ABBA on Drag Race. And in the scenario, in Santana's original lip sync on the season to Euphoria, she had a wardrobe malfunction at the beginning of the lip sync, which I kind of feel like derailed her performance, so to say. In this scenario, assuming, no wardrobe malfunction, I think that Santana would do an alright job. I think would be pretty comparable to Elektra's performance. Elektra, in the actual lip sync, did really actually started out really good, but then really just kind of like, she came out the gate kind of too hot for me and then just kind of lost steam. But watching the actual lip sync between her and Vanity, I was like, how the fuck did Vanity win this lip sync? Elektra's murdering this for me. And then the second half, I was like, oh, Vanity's now murdering it, and Elektra's just fallen in this lip sync. That's the way I felt about it with the energies. I like the first half, I was like, ooh, Elektra's got it. Then the second half, I was like, oh, but nope, Vanity's winning. Um, I think with kind of that, energy drop off that we saw with Elektra, I do feel like Santana would do a fine enough job to be able to, win the lip sync and move on to the finale. And regardless, and I can understand being like, Santana would lose and, being eliminated. I can understand that as well. But truthfully, neither of them are winning the season anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Let's move on to the finale. Now, in the original finale, there was no lip sync at the very end, which I thought was stupid, frankly. It really just messes with the format in a way that really doesn't matter or mean anything. I understand them feeling like, okay, we want Myra to win. We don't want to do a lip sync that Fontana's going to like slay. Or Vanity, for that matter, from the original like placements. Like, we don't want to do that. I can understand that, but also then just like choose a ballad. Like, I was seeing Admira's performance abilities during the season. Like, she won the Girl Groups challenge, she did great in it. I would imagine that if you give them a ballad for the finale, Admira's going to do a good enough job that it feels reasonable to crown her still. And I'm not honestly. I think she could easily do a better job than Fontana in a ballad. So I just don't know why they didn't do that. I don't know unless they just like did not have a song cleared, which would be weird that they wouldn't. But like regardless, that doesn't really make sense to me. But whatever. Um, but in this scenario, Fontana and Santana Sex Machine both have the same track record, so neither of them would be eliminated before any potential final lip sync song. And regardless of whatever that song was, Admire Thunder Pussy's gonna win. She has the best track record of the season by far, has done a really solid job, never placed below safe in this scenario. Admira really killed it and deserves it. Here you can see the track records of the season. As I said earlier, Fontana and Santana both have the same track record. And Admira almost has a 4-point track record, which is amazing. So good for her. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you wish. Leave your thoughts, feelings, opinions down below. If you want to see more of this type of video, please tell me what seasons you would like to see. Or other different concepts that are similar as well would be very good to hear of. Um, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. That'll be linked in the description. And I think that's everything. So, again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.